You can see all of me, unfortunately. Okay, so what we're going to do today, sorry about the washer noises. We are going to attempt to make a Yip Yip. I am so excited about this. So, what you need to do is gather, and we're going to make a Yip Yip in plarn. Did I forget to tell you that? A Yip Yip in plarn. Okay? Which I think, I'm going to cut bags while I talk to you, but I think this will be a great project to do in plarn, or to attempt to do in plarn, because it calls for an 8mm hook for crochet. You can do a knitted version of it. It is, it's a free pattern. It's done by Carissa Knits. You can download it free on Ravelry. I think she's got a blog too, but I will look that up. I did email her and ask her for permission. So, I did tell her I was going to do a plarning video with this instead of yarn, and she agreed to let me do it. So, that's very awesome. Thank you, Carissa, for doing that. Like I said, I think this is going to be a good video to try to do this on. Now, last time I showed you the plarning video, if you watched it, we cut the bags in 8. I'm going to cut these in 5. It'll give us about 1.5 inches, roughly. And we're going to start with that and see if it's big enough for the 8mm hook. I might end up going to 4 each, but we'll see. So again, you're going to cut your bags off on the bottom. You're going to cut across the top and cut off your handles. And if you are concerned about the leftover handles, leftover bottoms, you can take all those and put them back in another bag and take them to Walmart. They can still recycle those pieces. If you don't have any other projects you can use them for, you can use them to stuff like a toy or like a pillow. Like if you're going to make a toy ball. I made a toy ball for my kids and stuffed it with that. I made the dog bed, like I said before, out of plarn too, and just stuffed it with the ends. So this is my row so far. I'm just going to wind it up as I go. And I think this pattern, the way it's written, is basically a sphere, except for when you get up towards the top. But it starts bottom up, so you can and the pattern is all one color. Now, say you weren't using a blue or whatever, you could use a different color. These Yip Yips, I don't think they would have to be all a solid color. You know, monsters aren't all uniform, right? I mean, it's a monster. So let me, I'm going to pause you right here. Let me get a couple of these cut up and a big ball rolled up, because it's going to take a little bit. And I will count my bags and tell you how many I used, okay? So I did a lot of cutting. I did about, I would say 25 bags. 20. So I figured 13 bags got me a little over 30 yards. So there's 50 yards here in this ball right here. It's a pretty good ball. You could throw it at somebody. And you guys, you could even wind up a ball like this and then crochet regular yarn over the top of it and use this as your stuffing, and it would still be a pretty good ball, especially for kids that are wanting to play, or maybe even for a cat that wants to play. Okay, let's get started. So we've got our 8mm hook, or an L, which is what she calls for. And then when you're cutting your bag, don't be afraid if they break. Keep those. We'll try to use those for the bottom part of it. Okay? So I'll have you guys follow along. I don't know exactly how much information I'll give you. I'll just give you the basics, and you can go from there. But I would leave a good tail for yourself, just so you have an extra little weaving in room. Yeah, this says make a slip knot, so. And I'm just going to follow exactly what she has here, just to go to the pattern. And again, that was Carissa with Carissa Knits. And there is a knit and a crochet pattern on here. So it says single crochet 6 into the slip knot. So I'm going to actually single crochet, or chain 2, and then single crochet 6 into the middle. You could do a magic circle on the plarning. It might be easier or more secure to do the slip knot. So, and you do have to get a feel for the plastic in your hands. That is a learning technique, or a learning curve, I guess you would say. So I've got 3. So it is a little bit different. You just got to give yourself a little bit of time to work with it if you've never worked with it before. 4. 5. Okay. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I've got 6. And you can pull that tighter. You will still get that hole in there, I believe. But you could, like I said, use your extra end to weave that in. Take a smaller hook and weave it in between the stitches, and that'll help. So just try not to crochet too tightly, because you're going through with this big hook. So in the next row it says 2 stitches per each hook, or per each stitch. Sorry. This isn't exactly a tutorial. This is just me walking you through. I'm going to walk you through the first couple of rows here. And then I will probably skip a little bit. I would definitely use a stitch marker or the end of the tail. Oops. And if your tail is too long, you work in your tail by accident. Oops. Yeah, we don't need to work in the tail. Oh, come on. Mind me. I really did work in the tail, didn't I? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was going to work over the tail, and then I got it stuck in there. Okay. Sorry about that. Bear with me. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this next stitch I have here, I know it's tight, so I'm going to try to, this way. I saw it was tight as soon as I looked at it. And with the plarn, you can definitely tell if you have tight stitches. So, I definitely recommend exercising your hands every once in a while. Like I said before, this does take gives your hands and your arms a workout. And my little minions, as Rel would say, are running around upstairs. They're supposed to be in bed, but okay. One more to do for the second round here. And I don't know about you guys, but my hair attaches to everything, and plarn is no exception. Because of the static cling, it actually probably attracts it. So here, my first row, there are definitely holes in it, but you could, I think that'll loosen up as we go through. It'll kind of squish in, and just because you pull it doesn't mean it's going to stay that, what am I trying to say? It doesn't mean it's going to stay that thickness, because the plastic will get air in it and it will kind of bulk up again. So it will kind of fill in some of those holes by itself. Okay, now I'm going to place my my tail in there so I can tell where my stitches are, so I don't have to keep counting. And that's honestly what I do for a lot of my projects, is just use a long tail. So just your standard increases. It looks like your standard increases for the next all the way up to round 8. So for those of you that don't know, your standard increases would be 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, and 48. And then you just increase as you go around. And so we will do that. I will bring you back at row 8, and I'll show you how far my 50-yard ball got, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, so we are on row 8 for the Yip Yip, and this is how far I got. Again, I just carried my long tail so I can keep track of where I'm at. Hopefully you're not getting too bad of a glare there, but and for those of you that are familiar with crochet, you know that if you're going to do a continuous increase, your stitches, your increase should always land in your next increase. So your increase will land in the increase of the row before. That's what I'm trying to say. So if it doesn't, then you've miscounted. But I always keep my tail just so I can kind of mindlessly do it, but still have that backup to know that's the stitch I should be ending in. Okay, so for row 9, it says single crochet into the back loop of each stitch. The tentacles will be attached to the front loops of this round. So basically, you just go around and single crochet in the back loops only. So I will, let's see. And then after that it says, so row 9 is back loops only. And then row 10, it says single crochet in each stitch around. Repeat row 10 an additional 11 times or until the body measures 8 inches from the front loops. So from row 9, it needs to be 8 inches long. So this is how much of my yarn ball I have left just from this little piece here. I will let you know when I run out. So I'll do the back loops. I'll do that. I'll show that to you. I'll come back after I've got that done. I don't want you to waste time and watch me crochet that in there. And then I'll keep crocheting until this ball is gone, and we'll see how far I get. Okay? So we'll see. No, okay. So I am back, and I am done with the 50 yards that I had. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I'm on row 14 with 50 yards, which I think is pretty good. So after the back loop only, and you can see, if I can get it close enough, what it does, it leaves that little ridge there, and that's what you're going to attach the tentacles. So, oh, you can see my green eyes against the blue. So anyway, and you can see that there's, you know, that's plarn. Depending on, now this is an 8 size millimeter hook, and really it's pretty comparable for what I'm using as far as the thickness of this. I could probably go down to a 6.5. May or may not be tough to put your stitches into. And again, don't do this all at one sitting. Don't sit down and do this for hours if you have any problems with your hands. Take your time, do a little bit at a time when you're doing plarning. I have been doing this since I started tonight, so, and my hands hurt, or they ache. They don't hurt right now. They probably will later. But I've been just watching YouTube and doing this, and so, but that's pretty far for 50 yards of plarn, I think. So I will go ahead and cut another 50 yards, and we'll see how far that gets me. But yeah, so again, I figured about, let's see, so 4 bags makes 10 yards, minus any that you would have break. So that's why I said 13 bags makes 30 yards. If you're cutting it into 5, right? So with that little bit of breakage that you might have in there, or a hole in a bag or something, you give yourself that little bit of extra. So anyway, so 4, so 10. Oh my gosh, my brain just went. So 30, 12, 12 is 30. Why can I not think? 20, probably 23, 25 bags will make 50 yards. Anyway, I will do the math off of camera so you guys don't have to listen to the wheels turn, because the smoke is coming out. Can you see? Could just be my lights here. But alright, I will wind up some more plarn, and yeah, well, I'll show you what I come up with after that's all done. And again, I told you that hair attracts to this, so every little piece of hair that I have, or little fuzzies, or my yarn fuzzies, are getting attracted to this because it's static cling. It's winter, so that static charge is already in the air. So if that bothers you, just so you know, but just pull it out as you go. That's what I do. All right. So another 50 yards in, and I am at, oh, I counted it. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I'm actually 17 rows up from where the line is here. You see that? That's where the back loops are, or the front loops are actually sticking out. So there's my bottom, there's the sides. Honestly, you guys, these would make a perfect planter tote. And any kind of plarn that you were going to do, you could make and put your planter pot in there. If you wanted to decorate your pot a little bit, you could put all kinds of stuff on the outside. You could make some plarn flowers. You could make some felt flowers, or not felt probably, but yeah, make some plarn flowers, or take some tin can lids and paint those and add it on there. All kinds of ideas you can do. So many ideas, so little time, to be honest with you. I did measure it. Now, the pattern is upstairs on my computer, but I believe it said 11 rows or 8 inches. So I've got a good 2 more inches to go. I was listening to Cindy Hart's Crochet read the pattern, and it was supposed to be 25 inches for circumference, and this is only 21. It could be that I have a tight tension. It could be that maybe the plarn isn't as thick as it could be. You could go up to 4 strips per bag. You could also, if you didn't want it to be as stiff, now this will sit up on its own. I mean, it's not, I don't think it's going to cave in really, not unless I would make it like, you know, uber tall, but, yeah, you could go, if you wanted it to be a drapier look, you know, like if you were going to, because it's plarn, it's going to be stiffer, right? But if you wanted it drapier, you could even go up to a 9mm hook, which gets a little tricky. In some companies, a 9mm hook is an N. In some companies, a 9mm hook is an M. So be sure you look at that. You would think it would all be an M, but it's not. I learned the hard way. many thousands and thousands of stitches, I think I've told you guys that story before, were lost to mermaid blankets and the difference between a 9mm and a 10mm hook. Lots of stitches lost. Or made over done, yeah. Anyway, I'm ranting. I'm ranting and I'm rambling at the same time. So yeah, I've got 2 more inches if I want to make it the 8, which I think I probably do because you want some height to it. But yeah, I mean, if you're making a plarn, if you want a basket cover, this would be perfect just the way it is. So you might even be able to take the head once we get it done. For the Yip Yip, you could even put something in there depending on if you put it in there before you closed it up. But if you're going to line it, you could do either like a pre-made like Dollar Tree bag if you wanted to do something simple that's already just pre-made, and then you could just sew it in that way, you know, some of the cheaper ones, or you could use, I don't know, that I think I'll line it for you guys, right? I'll try to see what I can find for fabric. I'm pretty sure I've got some fabric somewhere. But we'll get to that when it comes to that point, right? So I've planned it out in my head, but not completely, so you'll have to bear with me on that. But that's how far I've gotten with the 100 yards so far. So we're getting there. And again, it said 11 rounds above the 9 or 10th row. So again, my stitches are probably just smaller. And I didn't do gauge because I'm just winging it, right? So there is a gauge thing on the pattern that you can look up. But yeah. So anyway, I will, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, normally I would just attach like this. So when you have your loop, you can just take your end loop, the one you're still working with, and then just add more loops to that. But sometimes, like I've heard a couple of you say on my last plarning video, that you've already got balls made up. So I will, in the next segue, I will make up a big ball and I will show you how to join that. Because sometimes that is a difficult part. Looping can be tricky. If you're not used to it, it can be very tricky. And then looping more balls onto it can be tricky. So, especially if you've already got like great big giant ones like I have laying around the house. But yeah, so I've still got blue bags left from Beth. I've got, I'm going to say I have enough to make the full thing, the 220 yards. From what I have in bags left, in the straight blue, I think I have enough. So, okay, so I told you I'd come back when I got a big ball ready, and I did, there's actually 32 yards in this ball, and 27 in that one. Or it could be vice versa. I think it's this one. But anyway, so when you go to loop, so if you already have balls made up, you can still just loop them on and add on. I like to do less than more. You can unloop them. It just takes a little bit of effort. So depending on how tight your balls are. But so you're going to take this whole ball and you have to have it, your loop has to be, your ball has to be small enough for the loop that you're making to go through, right? Because you have to put the whole thing through. So take it and you'll just take it just like you did the regular one. So again, I can't really show you again, but I can try. You would just have to take, I can show you on my tail. Take your ball. I'm not going to pull it tight, but just take your other loop. Make sure it's big enough. You're going to take the ball from underneath. So you've got your loop that you're working with, your current loop, and then the ball itself with the tail. The loop has to be big enough that you can pull it through, and then you can attach it just like you would any other looping project. So, like I told you before, I have not done any work since I told you I needed another 2 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the pattern here. Of course. Okay. And again, normally this would be made with, or how she makes it is with blanket yarn. And so I'm making it with the plarn, and I encourage you guys to try it. I think it'll be fun. But it says after round 10, so round 10 was stitch all the way around. That was after the back loop round. On round 9, it says repeat round 10 an additional 11 times or until the body measures 8 inches from the front loops of round 9. So again, I've got that 2 extra inches to go, or 1.5 kind of. And then round 23, it says from the right side of your work, you're going to single crochet in each of the next 16 stitches and then turn. So from after you get done with that 8 inches of height, basically we're going to work back and forth until we get to a certain point, and then we'll do a continuous round again once we get to the top of the head. Or actually, it just looks like back and forth, but I'll work you through that once we get that far, and we'll just continue to go through that. So let's see. It goes all the way up to around 32, depending on, you know, how many rounds your single crochet takes you. But if your plarn is bigger than mine, or your hook is bigger than mine, and I was thinking about that last night too, you could definitely use a size 9 hook, and that would give you a little bit more pliability. Or you could go down to a 6.5, and that would make it even stiffer than what I've got here, depending on your tension. So anyway, but I will come back to you once we are ready to start round 22, and I'll show you that measures 8 inches, and we'll go from there. All right.